What's up, home bartenders? Today I'm going to show you how you can easily make 12 of the most popular cocktail syrups at home. Let's do it.
All right, the most basic syrup, simple syrup. There's a reason it's called simple. It's just equal parts sugar and water. So we're gonna do a cup of sugar into a mixing glass here. And then I like to just use a tea kettle, 1 cup of hot boiling water into there. And then we're just gonna use a spoon and mix it together. There's enough heat there to dissolve all that sugar. You don't need a stovetop, although you absolutely can use that method if you want. If you want to do a rich simple syrup, you're going to just do double the sugar. If you want to do a semi-rich simple syrup, you just do 1.5 times the sugar. And there it is, simple syrup, just that easy. Next up, we've got Demerara syrup. This is the richer brown sugar syrup. So we're using 2 times, and we're gonna do a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 cups of a Demerara sugar and then 1 cup of water. Because the crystals are bigger on the sugar and there's more of it, we are going to do this one on the stovetop. Just mix it around until everything is dissolved and the liquid is dark but clear. And of course, you don't have to use Demerara sugar. You could use any brown sugar, cane sugar, turbinado sugar, whatever you got. All right, when it's nice and clear and cooled down, we're gonna bottle it up, and there's Demerara syrup. Next up is Grenadine. A lot of people don't realize that Grenadine is just pomegranate syrup. So 1 cup of pomegranate juice. Palm is pretty much the brand name there, so 1 cup of that. And then we're going to do, I'm gonna go a cup and a half about, but 1 cup or whatever ratio you want of plain white sugar. Some people do like to add a little bit of pomegranate molasses to the Grenadine, which just gives it a richer flavor. It's not required. I can't find any, so I just leave it out. This makes a fantastic Grenadine. So again, just stir, low heat, nice low simmer until that sugar's dissolved, let it cool, and then you're good to bottle it up. And there it is, homemade Grenadine, so much better than that neon stuff. All right, up next is cinnamon syrup. So we're gonna start with a cup of water in our saucepan. We're gonna throw in about 4 cinnamon sticks. Yeah, it really doesn't matter, put as many or as little as you want. It's just gonna infuse faster or slower. There we go, I got about 6 in there. And then I'm just gonna stir and simmer that gently until the water starts changing colors, start going a little beige brownish, and the whole kitchen or the whole bar starts smelling like cinnamon. You'll know when. After that, we're gonna add our sugar. I'm gonna use Demerara here. I like to use a brown sugar with my cinnamon syrup. That's just me, use any sugar you want. I went about a 1.5 ratio, but again, I'm really not measuring that much. All right, we're gonna let that cool and continue to infuse. I like to drop a cinnamon stick in the bottle. It's gonna keep infusing more flavor. And there it is, cinnamon syrup, really easy. All right, up next we have honey syrup. And we're actually gonna do agave syrup at the same time because it's exactly the same process. The idea here is that honey syrup is literally just diluted honey because honey on its own is so thick. You can see how thick it is there, and it's impossible to properly use in cocktails because it doesn't mix properly. So by adding just a bit of water, we dilute it and it becomes more liquidy, less thick, and more usable. I like to use a 3-to-1 ratio, so 3 parts honey to 1 part water, and it doesn't dilute the flavor. It's still very delicious. It just makes it more usable. And agave is the same thing. In stores, it might be called agave syrup, agave nectar, but sometimes it's liquidy, sometimes it's good to use as is. Other times it is as thick as honey. In that case, you can dilute it if you want. Now, you might ask yourself, why wouldn't you do this with maple syrup? Well, if you're using quality maple syrup, it's already liquidy. Don't use that like store-bought fake pancake syrup stuff. That stuff's no good anyways. So yeah, so we're just diluting the honey or the agave, and then we're bottling it up when it's nice and cool, and then it's good to use in cocktails, and it's still very flavorful. All right, up next, we've got vanilla syrup. We're gonna grab 2 to 3 vanilla beans. We're gonna slice it down the middle. All right, and that's gonna expose all those like hundreds, thousands of little tiny vanilla seeds inside, and that's where the flavor is. All right, so same thing with our next one. Just slice it right down the middle. The sharp knife, come on. All right, you guys know the drill at this point. So we got a cup of water in our saucepan. We're gonna drop in our vanilla beans, and then we're just gonna let that gently simmer. Vanilla is a gentle flavor, so not a rolling boil. Don't go crazy. As soon as it's kind of aromatic, that vanilla flavor's in, we're gonna drop our sugar, and then we just let it simmer a little bit. We're going to take it off the heat and let it infuse for about an hour. So let it cool off and infuse for at least an hour before bottling. I like to use cheesecloth here just to make sure those little tiny vanilla seeds don't make it into the final bottle. And here's a tip: you can use the same process and make a mint syrup. It's the exact same process, just use a whole bunch of mint. All right, and there it is, our vanilla syrup, ready to go. All right, up next we've got strawberry syrup. So I've got about 200 grams, about roughly 2 cups of chopped strawberries. I'm gonna add that to about a cup of water. And then we're just gonna let those strawberries soften and release all their juices. And once they're kind of soft, we can go ahead and use a potato masher to mash them all up. There it is. And guys, this technique can be used to make any fruit syrup. I've done raspberry syrup, blueberry syrup, mango syrup, pineapple syrup. The exact same process. Use any fruit you want to make any fruit syrup. Okay, once you mash it all up, you'll know it's ready when the pulp looks kind of dead and bland, and all that wonderful color has seeped into the water. So the water should be a bright red color. Now you know you're done. We're just going to strain out all the pulp, and we're left with that wonderful flavor. It's not sweet yet. We haven't added sugar. This is just strawberry flavored water. And now we're going to add our cup of sugar, make it 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, whatever ratio you want. And there's enough residual heat in there to dissolve all that sugar. All right, we're going to let that cool. And when that's ready, we're going to bottle it up. Look at that beautiful color on that one. Beautiful strawberry syrup. Okay, up next, ginger syrup. All right, big knob of ginger root, way too much. We need about 200 grams, so break off a couple pieces. That looks to be just about right. Okay, and using a spoon, that's the best method to peel off the skin, just like that. It does not have to be perfect. A little bit of skin makes it through. Who cares? Just get most of it off. You don't have to go crazy. And then we're going to chop it nice and thinly. Obviously the more surface area, the better it'll infuse, but don't go crazy. Drop that into a saucepan, get your water in there and get it boiling. This stuff is not as delicate as the vanilla, so you can give it a nice crazy boil. And we want to really get all that ginger flavor extracted. When you're happy with the aroma of the ginger, once again, drop in your sugar. Again, going about a 1.5 ratio. I'm really not measuring these sugars that much. And we're just gonna make sure that sugar gets all dissolved before we take it off the heat and let it infuse for half an hour to an hour. Once that's done and it smells amazing and it's got a nice spicy bite, bottle it up and there's your ginger syrup. Next up, we've got Orgeat. That is almond syrup. You wanna make Mai Tais, you gotta learn how to make Orgeat. Okay, so I've got a perfectly measured bag of 250 grams of almonds. They're toasted. You can toast them yourself if you want, obviously, but these are pre-toasted, so great. I'm just gonna roughly chop these. Some people like to blitz. The reason I do a rough chop is if you blitz your almonds, you extract way too much fat, and then your drinks will tend to curdle because your Orgeat has too much fat content. So I prefer to do, this takes longer to do, but I prefer to just do a rough chop. So we're bringing it to a boil, we've added sugar, and this is the one that actually needs to infuse the longest. Because we just did a rough chop, I'm gonna let this infuse for about 3 hours. You may not have to go that long. If you're unhappy with the flavor, your secret weapon here is a little bit of almond extract that you can put in there. No one's gonna notice. I didn't need it for this batch. I was happy with the flavor. And then we're gonna get our cheesecloth and we're just gonna dump all that wonderful almond syrup into the cheesecloth and extract. See the color? It's not quite as white as some Orgeats. If you have a white Orgeat, that tends to be because the fat content is very high. I'm not a big fan of that because, like I said, it makes your drinks curdle, especially drinks with citrus. Now, this is one syrup where I do like to add a little bit of high proof rum because it has gone bad for me in the past. So yeah, a little bit of rum might help. Who knows? Next up, cream of coconut. All right, so often this is just called coconut cream in recipes, but if it says that, they are referencing this syrup, not just plain coconut cream. We are going to start with a can of coconut cream, coconut milk, whatever it's called. That's a 14-ounce can. Get that all into the saucepan. Then we want half a cup of water. I like to just wash out the can, make sure we get all that coconut goodness. And then we're going to add our sugar because this is sweetened coconut cream. That's what cream of coconut is. It's sweetened coconut cream. So a cup of sugar goes in. And lastly, here I do like to add a nice pinch of salt that just brings out that coconut flavor. If you're making pina coladas, painkillers, a variety of tiki drinks, you'd want to make your own cream of coconut. All right, we don't need to bring this to a boil. If you've ever scorched milk, not a good thing. So just make sure all that fat gets incorporated, let it cool off, and then bottle it, and there's your cream of coconut. All right, we've left the most complex syrup for the end, the king of tropical syrups. This is Fassionola. So we're gonna start with a cup of water and a cup of sugar into a saucepan. We're basically making a simple syrup. After that, we have strawberries. I got about 100 grams here, chopped strawberries into there. And then we have pineapple and mango, which I found frozen in the same bag along with passion fruit, which brings us a good point. Don't think that you can't use frozen fruits in syrups. You absolutely can. It works great and it saves money. All right, after that, we have about 2 ounces of passion fruit juice. So we want extra passion fruit flavor in there. We're gonna do about a handful of blueberries. And lastly, just a handful of dried hibiscus leaves. That one's optional. If you can't find them, don't worry, but it is a classic ingredient in this syrup. All right, just bring everything to a nice boil. Make sure all those fruits get softened. We're gonna mash them up with the potato masher, just like we did with our strawberry syrup. And then when everything is nice and infused, we're gonna remove it from the heat, let it infuse for another 30 minutes, let it cool off, and we're gonna give it a nice taste. And whoo, oh, that's nice. Very complex flavors. All those fruits come through. The hibiscus does a nice floral finish. It's a beautiful syrup. All right, we're gonna bottle it up, and there it is, our finished Fassionola syrup, ready to make some cocktails.
Well, there it is, guys. 12 cocktail syrups, only 18 ingredients total. And we've got this amazing array of syrups to make awesome cocktails, like this Fassionola daiquiri. So if you want to learn how to make this cocktail, you'll have to hit that subscribe button, because in the next videos, we're going to be going through all of these syrups and showing you how to make some awesome cocktails using these syrups. All right, guys, so we'll see you next time. Cheers.